Hey guys, happy Music Monday! My name is Divina and today we are going to be taking a tour of the State of Sound exhibit in the Abraham Lincoln Presidential Museum. This exhibit includes music and sound created in Illinois, so basically the major music history of the state. Yes, like 90% of it comes from Chicago, but not everything, okay? So stay tuned. There was a lot to see, so I split this video into two parts. The second part will be posted next Monday. There are descriptions posted next to the items, but I will be talking you through what everything is anyway, just in case I missed anything on film. So here you are looking at a picture of Common and the overview and acknowledgments for the exhibit. First up, we have Mahalia Jackson. She was gospel music's first superstar. Here we have a signed performance contract for her to perform at Town Hall in New York, and we also have her first Decca record from 1937. She was originally from New Orleans, but she moved to Chicago in 1927 at the age of 16. Here we have the performance score for It's Alright, originally recorded by the Impressions in 1963. Curtis Mayfield is the author, and we'll come back to him later on because he's also in the R&B and soul exhibit. Here is a Soul Stirrers record. They were a Chicago-based gospel quartet that launched the careers of popular soul singers like Sam Cooke, who is featured on this specific record. The group was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1989. Sam Cooke was inducted in 1986. We are currently in the spiritual and empowerment section of the exhibit, and there we have listed some of the artists that are featured, which we've already mentioned a few. Up next, we have a sign here for the Chicago Gospel Music Festival. This banner is from 2002, and following this, we have one of my favorites. We have the Staple Singers. I've actually covered one of their songs on this channel. They were also Chicago-based, and here on display, you will see some of their records. You also see there in the front a test pressing of their single, Sit Down Servant. And this was so that they could get the song to the radio station as quickly as possible, but they don't actually last as long as regular records. And up next, we are moving on to the blues. But before we get too far ahead, I also did want to mention that Mahalia Jackson, who I mentioned at the beginning, she also sang not only before MLK's I Have a Dream speech, but she also sang at his funeral. First up in the blues section is Muddy Waters, who grew up in Mississippi but moved to Chicago in 1943 to be a full-time musician. On display here, you're going to see one of his records and you're going to see his press kit. Muddy Waters recorded his first records for Columbia Records and then for Aristocrat Records. Next we have Howlin' Wolf. He was signed by Sam Phillips in 1949 and then in 1951 he was moved to Chess Records in Chicago, of course. I love that amongst his items, we not only have an LP of his, but we also have some of his personal items like his shaving brush, his gun license of all things. Also on display is his Marine Band harmonica. He was also inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1991 for early influence. Man also had his own stamp, which is pretty cool. He was known for being very meticulous about how he dressed, always in suit and tie, and always had a clean shave. Moving right along, we're on to the next display case, which has lots of records in the back there. And then we also have Buddy Guy's Fender Strat. It's his signature polka dot guitar. This one is actually owned and has been played by him. The polka dot motif is for his mom. When he left Louisiana in 1957, he promised his mom that he was going to buy her a polka dot Cadillac. Unfortunately, his mother passed away before ever seeing him perform live, but he always has those polka dots on all his gear, so she's always with him. We also have his custom bejeweled wah-wah pedal, which he actually only used a handful of times before deciding it was too precious to take on the road. Over here we have a Chess Records commemorative plaque that was presented to Mr. Willie Dixon on his 75th birthday in 1991. And also we have the handwritten lyrics for I'm Wanted All Over the World. Willie was also inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1994. He lived in Chicago for 45 years until he was forced to move to Southern California for health reasons. Now we are in the soul and R&B section, and we're going to get started with this really nice list of artists, but we're going to focus first on Chaka Khan. So Shaka Khan, actually, the name, which I did not know the origin of, when she was doing some social advocacy work as a teenager for the Black Panthers, an African shaman gave her the name Shaka, which kind of loosely means fire, war, and the color red. And then the Khan came from a brief marriage to Hassan Khan, who played bass for the Staple Singers. So what do you know? She is from Chicago, and what is on display here is her single that she collaborated with Stevie Wonder on with, called Tell Me Something Good, and that she also received a Grammy for. Overall, Shaka Khan has 22 Grammys, including her solo career and her time with Rufus. Next, we have a portrait of Chicago native Jennifer Hudson as Aretha Franklin, and this portrait was actually used in the 2021 movie Respect. Lou Rawls was born in Chicago, Illinois in 1933. He was also a part of the group of the Soul Stirrers, like Sam Cooke was. And actually, another interesting thing about Sam Cooke is that he was actually shot to death in a Los Angeles motel. He was only 33 years old. He was definitely gone way too soon. Next, we have a press kit and photo for Earth, Wind, and Fire. They are also from Chicago. It was actually very blessed and very fortunate to have met the former guitarist, Al McKay. He was such a nice person, and when I got to talking to him and telling him that I did music too, he was like, yeah, send me some stuff and I'll give you my opinion. Next, we have Ike and Tina Turner, River Deep, Mountain High. Now, the reason that they are here in this exhibit is because they got their start musically playing in clubs in East St. Louis. Unfortunately, we now know how much of an abusive relationship that was, but they still made amazing music, and they both really left their mark in musical history. Now, I realize I forgot to zoom in on the description of the portrait from the Aretha Franklin movie, so I'll go ahead and do that now. And up next, we are back to Curtis Mayfield. Now, I think I already mentioned that he's from Chicago, and we're taking a look here at his paisley pants and vest suit. And this was actually worn by him. I know, it's kind of crazy looking, but you know, it was the 70s. We also have here his Grammy Award nomination plaque for his Superfly song. He was nominated for Best Original Score Written for a Motion Picture. Unfortunately, a lighting rig fell on him in 1990 during one of his outdoor concerts, and eventually he died from complications of that as it left him paralyzed. He was only 57. Alrighty, and now we're on to the jazz section with the likes of Miles Davis, Ramsey Lewis, Herbie Hancock, and more. But first, we're going to see Miles Davis's red custom trumpet, which he actually used in the 1980s. I don't know if you guys can see it from here because of the glare and stuff, but it actually says Miles Davis on the side of the trumpet, and that thing is beautiful. Miles Davis was from East St. Louis, and the trumpet was made by Martin Company, which was founded in Chicago. We also have some items from Herbie Hancock. We have his jacket that he wore in the 1985 film Round Midnight. And we also have his Korg Oasis keyboard. And yes, I know, you guessed it, he was from Chicago. He has 14 Grammys under his belt and an Academy Award for Best Original Score. Here we have Benny Goodman's memorial program and his clarinet and cleaning cloth. Benny Goodman was also a Chicago native and had the very fitting nickname, the King of Swing. He is the reason the clarinet was cool. It was actually really cool for me to see this in person because I actually did a project on Benny Goodman in college. So it was like, whoa, I actually learned all about this guy and now I actually got to see his instrument in person. Up next, we have the Downbeat magazine, which was founded in 1934 in Chicago, and here we have three distinct eras of jazz. We have the August of 1937 issue with Benny Goodman on the front page, the December of 1967 issue with Miles Davis, and then October of 1974 with Herbie Hancock. Here we have Gene Krupa's drumsticks. These were actually gifted to him by a fellow drummer named Nelson Benton in 1947, another Chicago-born native and an amazing jazz drummer. Also born in Chicago, we have Kurt Elling, and these are his collections of backstage passes. An amazing vocalist and a true ambassador of Chicago jazz. Now you are looking at Ramsey Lewis's score, program, and notebook from the performance of Proclamation of Hope that was performed at the Ravinia in 2009. Ramsey Lewis is also from Chicago, and he is a jazz pianist. He was 74 when he debuted this, and he has currently 5 gold records and 3 Grammy Awards under his belt. He first hit the pop charts with The In Crowd and Wade in the Water, which was an instrumental that he adapted from the 1901 African American spiritual. He also did a mellowed down interpretation of the McCoys' 1965 rock hit, Hang On, Sloopy. Now, of course, how could we forget Louis Armstrong? He wasn't actually from Chicago, but he ended up there just like everybody else. And same goes for Lionel Hampton, who was a vibraphonist. On to the radio section. I thought this one was really cool because they actually set up a fully functional live broadcast studio, which is awesome. Some of the equipment that is featured in this radio studio is a Gates CB77 Pro broadcast turntable, an ITC 3-deck Pro Tape cartridge machine, a ITC Pro 1/4 of an inch reel-to-reel tape recorder, and a Gates Stereo 80 on-air control board. Looks like they had a podcast that you could scan there and listen in on. They also had these little stations around, like this one, where you could plug these headphones in that they provided to you. You could listen in on information, and these you could listen into the podcast episode, or sometimes they just had radio playing. Taking a break from musical artists, let's jump into some gear. Here we have Victoria amps. They are made in a industrial park in Naperville, Illinois. This first model that you see here is used by the likes of Bob Dylan, Joe Bonamassa, and many others. And then the other tweed model is coveted by Buddy Guy, John Mayer, and others. They are all handmade and hand-wired. And since he started selling them in 1993, he has sold more than 8,000 amps. Here we have the famous lineup of Shure microphones. I've been using Shure microphones for forever, and I never even realized that they were founded in 1925 by Sidney Shure in Chicago. So I apologize for the terrible positioning of this display case, like the glare, the lights, just the pictures and everything on top. Oh, that's the one that I have, by the way, that blue one. I actually did an out-of-the-box demo on that one. It's on my channel as well, if you want to check that out. But anyway, yeah, so this is a really bad angle. I couldn't really get a good positioning on these mics. But most importantly, here we have the Heel Talk box. That's actually nothing to do with Shure, but Bob Heel was an amateur radio devotee, tinkerer, and theater organist, and he made this box, and that actual one is signed by Peter Frampton, who kind of made it famous. And then here is the lineup of mics. Again, I was trying to get a better look at them, but it just wasn't working out. But there's a bunch of them in there. The SM57, which is used usually for miking up instruments. The SM58, which is like their best-selling one for vocals. And here to close off this segment, we have this really great slideshow, which kind of gives some more information about all of the gear that has come from Illinois, which I think is awesome. I'm going to end the voiceover here. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this video. Don't forget I'll be posting part 2 of this exhibit next week. And thank you guys again. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you next time.
These dark clouds keep hovering, but I won't let it stop me. Resistance all around, I swear, but I won't let it win. No, no, no. I'm tired of letting